I'm with and we help companies to avoid financial damages when a data breach occurs to their systems. Not sure if it's a fit. If you had them too, I just had a couple of quick questions.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be interested in nothing like that, my friend.
No, if you don't mind me asking, I mean, you do take credit cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you do keep customer and employee data on file?
Yeah.
Okay, and if someone were to hack in and steal that information, would you be covered for that?
It's never happened, my friend.
Right, and that's the whole thing. And just happened. It's going on a lot now these days. Michael's, the craft store, someone stole their credit card information. You know, Sony PlayStation Network, someone came in and stole a lot of the usernames. So this is something that's kind of ongoing. And again, I'm not trying to say nothing at this point in time. And it's just trying to establish a type of a communication to kind of get people aware of what's going on. You know, again, to talk to you for 10 or 15 minutes.
Right, no, you can call me back in a year. And if something, then I'll do it. But right now, I'm good.
Okay, well, I appreciate your time, though.
This salesperson actually did a lot of really good things on this cold call. He opened the call with what we would refer to as a value proposition cold call opener. This is different from what most salespeople do. Most salespeople use more of a product intro cold call opener where they state or explain the product or service they sell. If this salesperson did something like that, he might say something like, I work for an insurance agency or I sell insurance. When you do that, you're more likely to trigger guardedness and objections. And after he opened the call, he used a sales takeaway by saying, hey, listen, I'm not sure if this is a fit with you or not. And this is a really effective and nice thing to do as you open cold calls, because it helps to decrease the prospect's guardedness, because it lets the prospect in a very quick second know that you're not a salesperson who's going to try to push something on them or try to talk them into something unless you know that it's a fit and it's something that they need. But this salesperson real quickly faced objections. The first objection he faced was not interested, and he handled this in a very nice way. He did what we refer to as trying to deflect the objection, and he did that by deflecting 2 questions. And these questions helped him to keep the conversation going, get away from the objection, but that did take him to another objection, which is the prospect saying, hey, listen, that's never happened here. And some version of this is probably very common when you sell insurance, because when you sell insurance, you're trying to protect the prospect of some sort of event happening. And it's very realistic that they think it might not happen to them, such as their home burning down or their house getting flooded or some sort of accident happening to their vehicle. This salesperson responded to this by basically deflecting to an example of the issue happening. So he talked about data breaches happening at Michael's Craft Stores and Sony PlayStation Networks. That led to the next and last objection the salesperson faced, which is the prospect basically saying, call me in a year. At which point the salesperson kind of conceded and let the call come to an end. And I will give this salesperson credit. I think he did a really good job. He tried to get around 2 objections, and then the third one he kind of complied with. But I think there's room for improvement here, and I know it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback, but what he could have said at this last objection is something like, hey, you know what, I can certainly do that, but you really never know when these types of things will happen, and if you wait too long and the event happens, such as a flood or a fire or a data breach, you can't really go back and buy the coverage and cover the damages you have. Just because you've never been impacted by this doesn't mean that there's not a risk of this happening and that this won't happen to you sometime down the road. So overall, I think this salesperson did a really good job. This salesperson was actually using our sales methodology called the SMART sales system. SMART stands for sales messaging and response tactics. So we created a good sales message for this salesperson, and all of his ducking and weaving with those objections were part of the response tactics of the SMART sales system. So with the SMART sales system, we actually created this cold call script, and this is what we gave this salesperson, and it allowed this salesperson without deep insurance industry knowledge or any insurance-related certifications to sound good, ask good questions, and have a good call even though he wasn't able to close this particular prospect. And in order to create that cold call script, we went through level 1 of the Smart Sales System, which is to create the sales message. And this is the process we go through to create a sales message. And this is the sales message that we created for this project. Each of those steps creates what we refer to as building blocks. And once you have your building blocks in your sales message, then you can move to level 2 in the Smart Sales System, which is to create a sales playbook. It's very easy to mix and match those building blocks to create your cold call script. You can also use those to create your email messages and your objection responses. For example, here's what the full cold call script for this salesperson might look like with those building blocks. Opening the cold call. Hi, Tom. This is Michael Halper calling from Insurance Pros. Did I catch you in the middle of anything? Then transitioning to the value proposition cold call opener. Hey, well, the reason for the call is that we help business owners to improve their level of protection against data breaches. I don't know if you're a fit with what we do or not. That's why I was calling with a question or two. Then we can transition to asking questions, maybe start with pain questions. If I could ask you real quick, how concerned are you about getting hit with a data breach? We can mix in or transition to any of our current state questions. Does your business currently process credit cards? Hopefully between the questions we ask, we find pain or areas for where there's room for improvement, and we can use that as a justification in going for the close and closing the prospect on talking more. But if we don't, we can transition to sharing pain points that we help to solve by saying something like, well, Tom, sounds like you guys are doing pretty good over there, but listen, real quick, a lot of business owners we work with, they often have challenges with data breaches are extremely disruptive and expensive. Are you concerned about any of those areas? Once we find a reason to talk more, then we can introduce our product as a solution to the prospect's needs by saying something like, well, it might make sense to talk more. The reason why is we actually provide business insurance, and we cover this and we cover that, and we focus a lot on IT security and data breaches. Some ways we're different from other insurance agencies out there is that we have 30 years experience in IT risk, and we know all of the different risks and can quickly identify if you're properly covered. An optional step at the end is maybe to share some examples. And in this case, we might share examples of companies that got hit by data breaches. This can help to create a little FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And then we go for the close, and we're not closing the prospect on purchasing our insurance. We're closing them simply on talking more by saying something like, hey, but listen, I've called you out of the blue. I don't know if this is the best time to discuss this. Are you available for a brief call where we can real quickly take a look at your existing coverage and then identify if there are any areas where you might not be completely covered or if there's any exposure or risks that currently exist? So that's an example of in creating your sales playbook. From there, you can progress to level 3 in the Smart Sales System, which is all about execution and kind of the how-to. And a good example of how this differs from level 2 will take your building blocks and we can use those to create objection responses. Level 3 has a training module in all of these different areas, but there's a training module specifically on objection handling. So this teaches you how to get around the objection and how to actually use those objection responses. For example, with our objection handling methodology, you can actually deflect objections back to different parts of your cold call script. If we go back to the objections that this salesperson faced, he first faced, I'm not interested. We can deflect that back to our pain questions by saying something like, oh, hey, I understand, but listen, if I could ask you real quick, how would a data breach currently impact your business? We can deflect this objection back to our current state questions, which is actually what this salesperson did. Oh, I understand, but if I could ask you, do you guys currently take credit cards? Do you store and retain customer or employee data? We can respond to the never happened to me, or I'm not really concerned about that particular thing happening to me objection by sharing examples, which is what this salesperson did. And we could respond to that last objection that he faced of call me back in 1 year by basically going for the close and not closing the product, but closing the prospect on simply talking more. by saying something like, hey, I can certainly do that. You never really know when things will hit you. And if you wait too long, you really can't go back and purchase coverage and cover the damages. Listen, I want you to know I'm not calling you today to try to sell you or sign you up for anything. We're just looking for a first conversation where we can look at your existing coverage and share any gaps or risks that might exist. That way you can be informed of your options if or when you reach a point where you're ready to do something or make a change. So if you like any of that, the good news is that you can go through these 3 levels and go through the complete Smart Sales System training program because it's all on YouTube for free. We have a playlist on our YouTube channel called the Smart Sales System that has all of the modules of the Smart Sales System program that will take you through this full training program from beginning to end. And the reason why we put our full sales training program on YouTube for free is because all of this aligns with a product that we do sell called Sales Scripter. Sales Scripter aligns with all 3 of these levels. Sales Scripter has an area inside of it called the Sales Message Builder that will take you through our sales message building process step by step and help you to create an optimum set of talking points and questions to ask for the product or service you sell. The Sales Message Builder will basically create all of your building blocks, and then Sales Scripter aligns with level 2 because there's an area of Sales Scripter that is called the Sales Playbook that mixes and matches all of your different building blocks to create a whole library of sales scripts, email messages, voicemail messages, objection responses, and more. And of course, Sales Scripter aligns with level 3 in terms of providing tools that help you with execution and tools that you can use when you're performing cold outreach and trying to get engaged with prospects and generate leads. And if you want more help beyond that, I'm available to help with all of this. I help clients in all 3 of these levels. A lot of clients I work with, we focus on level 1. I help them to create their sales message and create the story that they want to tell when they're reaching out to prospects. I help clients with level 2, helping them to create their cold call scripts, their email messages, their cold email campaigns, their objection responses, and of course I help with level 3 as well. If you found this to be helpful and you want to return the favor, very easy for you to do. All you have to do is like, comment, share this video, subscribe to our channel. Any of those help us and none of those cost you anything. If you have questions or you want more information, the best place to go is salesscripter.com. Thanks for being here. Hope this was helpful and we look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.